Assalamualaikum and our guests and our fellow viewers. So please welcome to our intellectual discussion. I will be hosting this discussion with my dedicated partner, Ms. Hafika. Okay, so our discussion today would be regarding whether coronavirus giving an impact on inflation. So before we hear our discussion, our opinion from our beloved guests, let me just recap what is coronavirus, since I believe all of us already aware regarding this. So COVID-19 is a contagious disease that can transmit through droplets and surface, and it was first found in Wuhan, China in December 2009. So please welcome Professor Wan Badru Hisham, an economist researcher at Malaysia Institute of Economic Research. So Professor, can you share what inflation?
Hi, and Assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you very much, Ms. Yana, for raising this question. Inflation is the rate at which the value of a currency is falling and continuous increase in the general level of prices of all goods and services in an economy for a specific time of period.
Okay, so Professor, may you share how inflation is measured?
Okay, inflation is measured in a variety of ways depending the types of goods and services considered, and it is the opposite of deflation, which indicates a general decline occurring in price for goods and services when the inflation rate falls below 0%. Most commonly used inflation index is the Consumer Price Index. The CPI measures the average price of consumer goods and services.
Thank you, Professor, for that compact information. But may you share what is the pros and cons of the inflation?
As you know that too much inflation is generally considered bad for an economy, while too little inflation is also considered harmful. Inflation can be defined as either good or bad thing depending upon which side one takes, and how rapidly this change occurs. Generally speaking, higher inflation harms savers because it wastes the purchasing power of the money they have saved. However, it can benefit borrowers because the inflation adjusts the value of their outstanding debt and shrink over time. For example, individuals with tangible assets that are priced in currency like property or stock commodities may like to see some inflation as that raises the price of their asset, which they can sell at a higher rate. However, the buyers of such assets may not be happy with inflation as they will be required to shell out more money. Inflation index funds are another popular option for investors to profit from inflation. Also, a high and variable rate of inflation can impose major costs on an economy. Business workers and consumers must all account for the effects of generally rising prices in their buying, selling, and planning decisions. This introduces an additional source of uncertainty into the economy because they may guess wrong about the rate of future inflation. That's all for me. Thank you for inviting me to this intellectual discussion.
Thank you, Professor, for your share. We can hear from you more soon. And now we can proceed with
Okay, now we move to the next question, Dr. Anis. We can see that the coronavirus pandemic has resulted in large shocks to both demand and supply, which possibly could result in inflation. It shows that at the beginning of lockdown, there was a sharp upturn in inflation and a significant fall in product variety. So my question is, you as an economic lecturer, what you can say about the impact of COVID-19 on inflation?
Okay, thank you, Afika, for the good question. Okay, during the lockdown phase, the epidemic and associated lockdown measures can affect the supply and demand of a certain product, hence their prices. An obvious example is food and medical goods. Certain price inflation of such goods can be driven by a number of factors.
Okay, so what is the factors?
Okay, some of the factors is explain the price gouging in high demand goods as panic buying and hoarding into, for example, sanitizers, masks, medical supplies, and pain relief medication. And the other factor is dependence on migrant workers in the production process. Prices and certain products, for instance, agriculture goods, can increase if supply is disrupted because of labor shortages resulting from a decline in a number of migrant workers. The duration and generosity of unemployment benefits, especially for local unskilled workers who could replace migrants, may affect the duration and severity of this type of disruption of supply.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anis, for the answers. What a
Thank
brilliant
you.
point where you can describe the number of factors of a short-term price inflation of such goods. Okay, next, Miss Liana.
So right, we have had 2 points from our guest. Now, without further ado, let's welcoming our keep rising businesswoman, Miss Najiha Zahari. So, Miss Najiha, can you share what business do you actually run?
Okay, Assalamualaikum guys. My name is Najah Hazari and I am a businesswoman who owns Beshta Company, which is an apparel company. We design some high-end product for men, women and also kids. And we have been here in Malaysia since 1998. So basically we aim for exclusive design for formal and also casual clothes.
Okay, so that's great. Do you mind sharing what inflation caused you at your company?
Okay. Okay. Honestly, we have been dealt with many difficulties since we started our business in 1998. So, but this is our first time dealing with third state, which is COVID-19. For me, it is hard dealing with this current situation because it involves our health and also security. So basically, my business was obviously affected because people only purchase regular food, drink, and also transportation. And yes, I know clothes are main in that too. But according to people needs, they rather buy some affordable clothes from bundle or also pre-love rather than spending 100 ringgit to design clothes. And also, we got some trouble when it comes to the wages of our employees. We can't fully support our employees due to the low demand of our product and low profit. Okay, other than that, the price of our raw materials that we usually use to overpriced and increased due to the lack of manufactured materials from Pakistan and also India. And due to that, we are now trying hard to release our affordable wear that fit to the criteria and the need of people.
Okay, last question. So, what do you want to say to people out there who are struggling at their own business as well?
Okay, I think everybody has their own struggle, especially now due to this pandemic. I hope people out there can get through their all problems that they face because every problem have their solution. Thank you.
Okay, Professor Shaza. If inflation is occurring, it can lead to higher prices for basic necessities such as food. Therefore, it can have a negative impact on society. So, my question is, what can government do to overcome inflation in a country?
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Good day to everybody. So, monetary policy alone is incapable of controlling inflation. It should therefore be supplemented by fiscal measures. Fiscal measures are highly effective for controlling government expenditure, personal consumption expenditure, and private and public investment. The government can reduction in unnecessary expenditure. Therefore, the government should reduce unnecessary expenditure on non-development activities in order to curb inflation. This will also put a check on private expenditure, which is dependent upon government demand for goods and services. But it is not easy to cut government expenditure. Though this measure is always welcome, but it's difficult to distinguish between essential and non-essential expenditure. Therefore, this measure should be supplemented by taxation. Next, we can surplus budgets. An important measure is to adapt anti-inflationary budgetary policy. For this purpose, the government should give deficit financing and instead have surplus budgets. It means collecting more in revenue and spending less. Next, the government can increase in saving, which another measure is to increase saving on the part of the people. This will tend to reduce disposable income with the people and enhance personal consumption expenditure. But due to the rising of living, people are not in a position to save much voluntarily. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, what a good idea, Professor Shaza. I hope government will implement your ideas as their future strategy. Thank you, Professor Shaza.
Okay, so now we have come to our lecturer. Please welcome No Adina Binti Sanusi, a master student at University Technology Mara. So, Miss Adina, may you share what is the main reason of inflation that occurs in Malaysia?
Okay, thank you Miss Liana. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good evening to all audience. I'm so glad to be one of the guests here. In general, inflation became one of the serious matters over a period of time. It can be said that throughout the past few years, Malaysia's inflation is caused by many factors. These factors either caused by economically or caused by external factor apart from economy. The economic factors are divided into monetary and non-monetary factors as well. Basically, there are two main types of inflation. There are demand pull inflation and cost push inflation. Demand pull inflation is a type of inflation where the main impact comes from demand side. Factors such as increase in money supply, increase in government expenses, increase in export, etc. may lead to the constant increase in demand pull inflation. While for cost push inflation is a type of inflation where the main impact comes from supply side. Factors such as increase in price of raw materials, increase in wage rate, and etc. may lead to the increase in production costs in industries. So, we can say that there are many factors that determine inflation. So, the three main factors that cause inflation are unemployment rate, money supply, and exchange rate as well. So, what is the three type of factors? Which is money supply is one of the monetary factors that impact on inflation. Money supply is an important determinant because money has been used in all economic transactions, so it can affect economic activities significantly. When the amount of money supply is increased with reduced interest rates, it will stimulate economic activities as well. For exchange rate, the exchange rate has a negative impact on inflation. When the currency is given, country depreciate, this means that the purchasing power is currency is decreased. Consequently, the price level of imported goods and services from other countries will rise up and cause an increase in domestic inflation. While for unemployment rate has a negative relationship with inflation. The inflation rate will decrease when the unemployment increase. On the other hand, decrease of unemployment rate will cause the inflation rate to increase. When there is full employment, the labor market will face a shortage and short supply. This situation will provide pressure on wages to increase. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you Miss Adina for your sharing, and before we end our discussion, let's proceed with Miss Safika first.
Okay, thank you, Miss Liana. Okay, also thank you to all panelists for your brilliant point and answers. So now all the questions have been answered very well. We are getting close to the end of our time together, but now, before we dismiss our discussion, what you can conclude about the impact on COVID-19 on inflation, Dr. Anis?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Atika. Okay, despite the potential increase in the prices of some critical goods, the impact on overall inflation during the mitigation phase could be muted. Before official lockdowns came into effect, demand for some contact-intensive goods and services like restaurants and gyms had been declining already due to individuals' response to COVID-19 risk. This behavior and the subsequent official lockdowns resulted in massive unemployment and income loss, intensifying the fall in demand and spreading it to the other sector. That's all from me. Thank you for inviting me, and Assalamualaikum.
Alright, thank you Dr. Anis for your conclusion for our intellectual discussion. Again, thank you to all panelists for present into our live discussion here. We really do appreciate your interest in this very important issue. We may dismiss our discussion. So thank you all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.